On this subject there is a lot of confusion, so there's no right or wrong answers here. So I'm just going to give you my take on it all, on the subject of image size and resolution. Now, image size is the physical number of pixels that you have in an image. So here we have an image that's 1800 pixels wide and 1200 pixels deep. If you multiply these together, you'll get 2,160,000 pixels, which you can approximate in megapixels to 2.2 megapixels. Now, resolution. Well, resolution for me is simply a measure of how many pixels there are in an image over a certain area. And it's probably the most misused word in the universe is resolution. In digital photography terms, resolution can mean two things. It's common for many people, including camera manufacturers, to tell you that their camera has a resolution of 10 megapixels. Well, 10 megapixels is not a measure of resolution, it's a pixel count. Resolution has been adopted to describe the quality of an image though. So you get high resolution images and you get low resolution images. Now, though in my opinion it's confusing, high resolution does sound more sexy than my camera has a pixel count of 10 megapixels. Okay. It's also used to describe the print quality of an image. Now, your image can have any print resolution you want because you decide whether you space the pixels out closer together or further apart. When I speak to clients, sometimes they'll tell me that they need a 300 pixels per inch image. Well, that really doesn't tell me much because a 300 pixel per inch image could be 6 inches wide or 10 meters wide. Now, print resolution and image size are inherently related. As I push pixels closer together, print size will decrease. So in other words, as print resolution goes up, print size comes down. If I spread pixels further apart, print size increases. So as print resolution goes down, your print size will go up. So here I've got an image where we've got a print resolution of 1 pixel per inch. So the pixels are 1 inch square. So an 1800 pixel image would print at 1800 pixels wide. Now, this as an actual print would look pretty crappy unless you were stood 3 miles away from it. But there is a logic to this. Large advertising hoardings are printed at lower resolutions. You go close up, you only see the dots. You stand back across the road and you perceive an image to be a continuous tone image. But I just wanted to illustrate one end of the spectrum here. Now let's have a look at the other end of the spectrum. Here we've got the same image but with a different print resolution. Now we have a print resolution of 300 ppi. So each pixel now is really teeny tiny at 1/300th of an inch because we're packing 300 of them into this little inch here. So this image will now print out 6 inch by 4 inch. And the maths, 1800 pixels divided by 300 will give you 6. This is 6 inches because there's 1800 pixels, 300 pixels per inch means this image will print at 6 inches. Okay, now we've seen the theory, let's jump into Photoshop and see this in action. We've got a really cool tool to help us with all our image sizing needs, and it's called the image size dialog box. So I'm going to go up to the image menu and I'm going to go down to image size. Just move it into the middle. You can see here we've got a preview window which you can make bigger or smaller. And we'll just deconstruct this a little bit, starting at the top. So here we've got the image size. Now this can be confusing because this is 20.6 megabytes. Now this is not to be confused with megapixels. Now if you don't know the difference, don't worry. I have another video which tells you exactly how to do a conversion if you need to convert between them. Right. Here we've got dimensions. This is how many pixels there are in the actual image itself. So here we've got 3000 pixels wide across this end and we've got 2400 pixels deep down this side. Now the resolution we've got set to 300 pixels an inch. And this resample tick box here, I'm just going to turn that off and we'll be talking about that in a minute. Okay, that's then changed this. I want to change this to inches. So here we've got a 10 inch by 8 inch image at a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Now again, the maths is quite straightforward. If we've got 3000 pixels wide and we're working at 300 pixels per inch, if we divide 3000 by 300, we'll get 10. We'll get 10 inches. So 3000 pixels at 300 pixels per inch means the image will print at 10 inch. We can change the resolution. At the moment we're packing 300 of these pixels into every inch, so we can print this at 10 inches wide. That's all it is. We've still got 3000 by 2400 pixels. So let's change the resolution. We'll change that to say 600. And you'll notice that we haven't changed the amount of pixels. We've still got the same amount of stuff. All we've done is we've redistributed it. So what we're saying now is that if we pack 600 of our 3000 pixels into this inch, we can only print this 5 inches by 4 inches. And we can go the other way. We'll change that to 150. So now we can print this at 20 inches by 16 inches because we're only packing 150 of the pixels into each of these linear inches. Now this may look fine printed, but you may have to stand back from it a little bit because as you get bigger and bigger, you need to be further and further back. But certainly on some print types, you can work to a lower resolution and still have a good quality image. Okay, I'll reset that back to 300 to give us a starting point. Okay, let's imagine somebody wants this print and they want it at 5 inches by 4 inches. That's no problem. I can go in and type 5 inches in there by 4 inches. That gives me the correct size, but the resolution's gone up to 600. Okay, but I've still got the same amount of pixels, same file size, but I've now got 600. Now let's say for instance this client can't accept 600, he needs 300. His specification is a 5x4 image at 300 pixels an inch. Well, okay, well let's change that back up to 300 then. But my width's gone up to 10 inches and I only want this 5 inches. I'm in a bit of a quandary here. In actual fact, my problem is I've got too many pixels. And because these are fixed together, I have this 3000 by 2400 number of pixels, I can't get away from that. What I need is to be able to throw away some of my pixels to get my resolution lower. And I can do that with this little resample box. So I'll click on resample. And what this is actually doing is intelligently throwing away the pixels for me. So what I need is a 5 inch by 4 inch at 300. So now with the resample image box ticked, what I can do is if I go in and put 300 in there, it will actually reduce my image size. So my image size has now gone down from 20.6 megabytes to 5.15 megabytes. And my dimensions have now got 1500 pixels by 1200 pixels. And I meet the specification that the client wants. He wants a 5 inch by 4 inch at a resolution of 300. Okay, now when I click the OK button, just watch the image on the screen. And what will happen is it'll get smaller. So as I click OK, that image now gets smaller because I've taken out, intelligently, I have to say, Photoshop has intelligently removed some of the pixels. So if I just click Control and plus a couple of times, I can zoom that again and you can see it's still a very good quality image. Photoshop is very good at downsizing. Well, that's image size and resolution. Let's have a little bit of a recap. Okay, so what have we learned? Well, we've learned that image size is the physical number of pixels in an image. Resolution is how many pixels used per inch to create a print. If resolution goes up, then the print size comes down. If resolution goes down, then the size you can print at goes up. And images are resized So we can either take pixels out or add pixels by resampling the image. Well, that's it for this tutorial. I do hope you found it useful. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments underneath the video. If you like the video, please share it with a friend or two. And click the subscribe button so when I upload a new video, you are the first to know. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.